Darren being an art critic, art teacher, art writer, Darren made this comment that you've displayed a layering thin spaghetti-like set of tubes of colour atop of each other to create a kind of relief painting, which he went on to say means that you've perfected a unique technique. So perhaps can you go into some little detail, if you like, as to the technique and the subject matter of these works?
Because of my ADHD, right? When I remember my time when I was in UK doing my work, my first set of work that I deal with is all abstract paintings. I have this preference of applying colors directly. I refuse to mix colors because my brain is not wired for that. So I say, oh man, this is terrible. I don't understand this. Only much later I realized because I have ADHD, that's why I couldn't think properly like normal people. Reason why I also want to work with lines like that because I've found much later through my daughter's diagnosis that I have ADHD. And part of ADHD thinking is like we think a lot of things all the time. And it's really difficult for me to focus. But with lines, it forced me to focus, meaning I could concentrate my colors within that one area. So that's how my process at the moment. Even to the point that they declare the painting state many times. They try, all right? So I still want to paint because that's how I express myself. It's also because my neurodivergent, right? I like to express my thoughts directly, making broken lines and draw, all right? So I can't help it. I just have to continue with this, right? So when COVID happened, it has impacted all of us in a very profound way. And I also feel that it was a missed opportunity because that was a moment that we are all united by the same problem, but somehow it divided us. We have talking about anti-colonization messages and things like that. So I've looked at it, I say, well, I don't really agree about the destructions of the monuments, create another set of monuments that counter these monuments. So that kind of like drives me to understand that can I critique colonization without going to the point of like making it really disgusting and things like that. I feel that it's like too direct. Create works that is beautiful and yet at the same time I'm criticizing colonization. Before I came out with that series with Cook, we're having that plimp and this one and that one and that one. I was looking at the internet images. I say, how can I make something that's iconically powerful yet iconically racist and yet iconically intimidating? I have always liked this American painter named Philippe Gaston. Okay, Philippe Gaston painted the Ku Klux Klan, and I find his paintings humorous and yet sad at the same time. So I thought, wow, he's a portrayal of racism, racist figures in the Ku Klux Klan hat and smoking and things like that. I thought it's very profound. I recall back to the Jack Van Tongeren experience. Okay, because Jack Van Tongeren that I know is like a thug, you know, going around and attacking Chinese restaurants. He wears a balaclava. So I thought about it. He probably mask himself and do things like that. So that's how I kind of think that, oh, can I use that image, that mask, and repurpose it into the film? Because I think that you will see in movies like Zulu, even in imagery of millennial Trump, and there is still continuing conversation of that. So how can you turn that into a powerful icon? So that's how I came about creating that.
You can almost see, like, almost quite a ghostly figure, and my mind just made the association with the Star Wars design of the Stormtrooper. Yeah. You know, it's actually a similar riff on that shape, that helmet shape. It's quite contemporary.
Yeah. Basically, the idea of the plimp is to protect yourself against the sun. Yet at the same time, these troops will walk across jungles of Asia and stuff like that, and in South Africa, right? It becomes an icon because it's part of the uniform. So sacking, rape, stealing of things happen, right? So there is also a lot of repercussions. So why is that? Why did I leave this head exposed and I leave his head covered? Because soldiers like this are faceless. All we remember through the portraits are commanders like this, or even commanders like him, right? We will see that. We will never see the ordinary person. So who are the empire builders? The empire builders are the foot soldiers who works for their commanders. So by giving them a mask like that, they become powerful, right? Like we look at stormtroopers. All my works that's here goes back to the first earlier on when I talk about my Chinese temple experience. Part of my Chinese temple experience about this particular paper craft called zizha. So zizha is like a Chinese effigy making material. Like they will make Chinese effigies, they will make images of statues of dogs, humans, right? So that they can burn it as an offering. It embedded with concepts like memory, heritage, and cultural continuity. So with that sort of concepts and principles, I thought about it, can I use that to explore colonization? So this is how I came about using that particular Chinese funeral thing and then create these works. We spend so much time on the internet looking at things, and I realized that, oh, can we utilize that experience and create that into my work? So at the same time, I'm thinking about how do I create the experience? How do I extend painting? How do I make contemporary paintings that are like that? So I thought about it. Most of these people that I paint, they are already dead, right? Maybe she will have voice recording of herself. The rest of them don't. So why can't I speculate on their voices, how their voices are like that? Like for example, if you look behind you, that one particular, the sculpture piece, she's meant to be a victim of Raffles. And victims do not have voice, so can I create a voice for her? So what I did is I tried to think about using AI, using my own script and create a generated voice. And that's how I think about bring the meta space and be integrated into the part of the work. What I want to do is challenge painting. I want to challenge the traditional painting, meaning can I still paint yet in a way integrate with what's going on technologically? So obviously there is a lot of reinterpretation of Cook's painting. I created the lines and then deliberately exposing things that's beyond the lines, and then sometimes I tighten it. I wanted to talk about that because like sometimes when you unravel things, you see things. Sometimes you add more lines, you don't see things. So I just want to play with that effect of doing that, all right? But like I said, it also go back to my mom's sewing heritage. My mom sews, she used that. With these painting marks, I want to create the effect of sewing. I can't sew for nuts, all right? So I have to paint with lines like that. Yes, like you say, I reference the idea of textile in my work, and then and the whole of unraveling, repurposing it, it creates more conversation and complex dialogue.
All paintings that were specific to the history of portraiture, and yet you're not mimicking, you're doing something much more complex. And I'm just making that as an observation that maybe you want to...
Okay. Thank you.
Gail.
Yeah, Gail. Yeah, you're right to point that I make a lot of reference to portraiture. Why I make portraiture? Because it goes back to the idea of 18th century portraiture, right? If you look at 18th century portraiture, a lot of the portraitures are white people, right? It's like, oh, look at them. It's like the symbol of power, the symbol of righteousness. And you will see very few paintings of non-whites. So in a way, where we are now, the colonization always traces back to this idea of the white experience. It is normal and superior. The rest of us are not. Works like this because I want to go back really addressing this, reframing all these so-called colonial narratives. I want to present it from another perspective. So, but in doing that, I do not want to go back to painting exactly the same person. So I want to hide little things, draw little things, and makes it interesting.